Hey Browns fans! I'm here with the latest updates for you die-hard Browns fans who like to stay informed. But before we dive into this wild trade rumor, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button to stay up to date with the latest Browns news. Alright, let's talk about this potential blockbuster deal that's getting people talking. There's been some buzz going around that the Cleveland Browns may be considering making a move for Dallas Cowboys star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. Yes, you heard that right, CeeDee Lamb in a Browns uniform. Now, this comes after the Browns were reportedly interested in Brandon Ayuk, but that didn't pan out. So could CD be the next big target? Max Dybel of Heavy.com has thrown out a pretty wild proposal. He suggests that the Browns could offer Nick Chubb a 2025 first-round pick and a 2026 second-rounder to the Cowboys in exchange for Lamb. Now, I know what you're thinking. Trade Nick Chubb? That's a huge ask, especially considering what Chubb means to this team and this city. But let's break it down. First, Dallas is in a tough spot with Lamb. He's been held out of training camp and the preseason due to a contract impasse, and with the regular season coming up, things are getting tense in Big D. They need a running back, so Chubb could theoretically fill that void for them. But, and it's a big but, Chubb is recovering from that catastrophic knee injury. His value is a bit uncertain right now. On the other hand, it's hard to see the Cowboys actually parting ways with Lamb, especially without getting another wide receiver in return. Behind Lamb, their receiving core is pretty thin, with Brandon Cooks and a lot of improving guys. So if Dallas does move Lamb, they'll probably want a wideout as part of the deal. But just imagine Lamb joining Amari Cooper here in Cleveland. This duo would be electrifying and would give our offense a huge boost. It's an enticing thought, isn't it? Of course, even if a trade were on the table, Lamb would have a lot of say in where he ends up. Much like the situation with Ayuk in San Francisco, Lamb could dictate terms, especially since he's entering the final year of his contract. If he's not interested in staying in Cleveland long-term, the Browns might think twice about making a deal. So what do you think? Browns fans, should the Browns make a move for CeeDee Lamb, even if it means parting ways with Nick Chubb? Or is that too much of a risk? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Alright, Browns fans, we're deep into the preseason with just one game left before the real action begins. It's that time of year when tough decisions have to be made. The Browns need to trim the roster down to 53 players, and with the amount of talent we've got, it's not going to be easy. Rather than cutting players and getting nothing in return, the Browns might look to swing a few trades. Today, we're talking about 3 guys who might be on the move before roster cutdown day. Let's dive in. First up is Isaiah Thomas, a defensive end who's been turning heads this preseason. Now, if you're not familiar with Thomas, let's catch you up. He was a 7th-round pick back in 2022, and as a rookie, he showed some promise with 9 tackles and a sack. But with the additions of Zadarius Smith, Ogbo Okoronkwo, and Isaiah McGuire, plus the return of Alex Wright and Myles Garrett, Thomas has found himself buried on the depth chart. Despite the competition, Thomas has been making the most of his opportunities. Against Green Bay, he recorded a tackle for a loss, and in the game against Minnesota, he added a sack to his preseason resume. He's proving that he's got the skills to be a rotational pass rusher in the NFL, and that's why it might make sense to see if any teams are interested in trading for him. If the Browns waive him, there's a good chance another team would claim him. So, why not try to get something in return, even if it's just a late-round pick? It's better than losing him for nothing, right? Next on the list is Tyler Huntley, a quarterback who has been an interesting addition to the Browns roster. Huntley had a stellar career at Utah, but went undrafted in 2020. He ended up with the Baltimore Ravens, where he worked his way up to being Lamar Jackson's backup. In his time with the Ravens, Huntley started 8 games over 2 seasons and even made the Pro Bowl. Though, let's be honest, that was probably more of a popularity pick than anything. Huntley wasn't retained by the Ravens and didn't draw much interest in free agency, which is how he ended up in Cleveland. Now, some rumors floated around that the Browns might have been concerned about Deshaun Watson's shoulder, but really, it seems like they just wanted some experienced depth at quarterback, especially after the revolving door we saw at the position last season. The thing is, with the preseason winding down, Huntley's future in Cleveland is uncertain. He's unlikely to make the final roster as the 4th quarterback, and keeping him on the practice squad might not be an option if another team needs depth. There's already talk that the Minnesota Vikings could be interested, so it would be smart for the Browns to explore trade options. Better to get something in return than lose him to another team for nothing, right? Finally, let's talk about David Bell, a wide receiver who the Browns picked up in the 3rd round of the 2022 NFL Draft. Coming out of Purdue, Bell was known for being a production machine. In his college career, he racked up over 2,900 yards and 21 touchdowns in just 29 games. But his draft stock took a hit after he ran a slower-than-expected 4.65 in the 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. Despite that, the Browns saw something in him. They liked his route running and his reliable hands, thinking he could be a great fit as a slot receiver. In his rookie season, Bell played in 16 games, starting 3 of them. He caught 24 passes for 214 yards, but he didn't find the end zone and only managed to move the chains 7 times. In his second season, Bell's numbers didn't improve much in terms of volume, but he was more efficient. He caught 14 passes, 9 of which went for first downs, and he even scored his first 3 touchdowns, including 2 in the season finale. Heading into his third year, Bell remains a trusted option for the Browns offense. However, with the team's depth at wide receiver, he might be the odd man out if the Browns want to bolster another position. If Bell were to be traded, he'd likely get more opportunities elsewhere, and the Browns could avoid thinning out their roster at other crucial spots. He's still got a lot of potential, and other teams might see him as a valuable addition. So, Browns fans, what do you think? Should the Browns consider moving any of these players before the roster cut down? Is there someone else you think could be on the trading block? Coach Kevin Stefanski has announced that the plan is to start Deshaun Watson in our final preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I know this has sparked a lot of debate among us, so let's break it down together. First off, let's get something clear. Deshaun Watson hasn't played a single snap in this preseason, and after last season, where he was sidelined with that season-ending shoulder injury in Week 6, it's understandable that there's a bit of rust to shake off. Watson has been through extensive rehab, he's been cleared for contact, and physically, he's ready to go. But here's the big question. Is starting him in this final preseason game the right move? Coach Stefanski mentioned, "We'll see." I mean, the plan is for Deshaun to play, but he also added that he's taking things day by day, week by week. That kind of cautious optimism is what makes this decision so tricky. On one hand, Watson needs those live reps. We haven't seen him in a game situation since Week 6 last year, and getting him back into the groove before the regular season starts seems crucial. But on the other hand, are we risking too much by putting him out there now? Let's think about the context here. The Browns are already dealing with a shortage of tackles. Our offensive line has been solid, but it's also been banged up. And the last thing we need is for a Seahawks defender, someone fighting to make their own 53-man roster, coming off the edge with something to prove. One bad hit, and we could be looking at a worst-case scenario, Watson's season ending before it even begins. Now, some of you might be wondering why Stefanski didn't give Watson any playing time in the earlier preseason games. Last weekend, instead of getting Watson those reps, the Browns opted to showcase Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Tyler Huntley. Both young quarterbacks got their time on the field, which was great for their development, but it left Watson without any game speed action heading into the final preseason matchup. So here we are, Browns fans, at a bit of a crossroads. Starting Watson this week feels a bit like playing with fire. We understand the need to get him back into rhythm, but the timing and circumstances make this a risky play. Is it worth the potential upside of a few preseason reps, or are we risking too much, especially considering the state of our offensive line? Let's not forget what's on the line here. The regular season is right around the corner, and having Watson healthy and ready is crucial to our success. We've all been waiting to see him lead this team to new heights, and the last thing any of us want is to see that dream derailed before it even begins. So, what's the verdict? Should Stefanski stick with the plan and start Watson, or should he err on the side of caution and save him for the regular season? It's a tough call, and it's got all of us on the edge of our seats. But now, I want to hear from you, Browns fans. What do you think? Is this the right move? Or are we taking an unnecessary risk? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get this conversation going. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss any of the latest Browns news. Let's gear up for an exciting season. And as always, go Browns!